Hello, everyone. We're going to give folks a couple minutes to join our brown bag lunch, where we're going to run through Action Builder and our deploys of this past year, all the fantastic features that we launched as part of our cooperative development process. So we'll be getting started here right around 12:03 Eastern. So I'll kick it off with a quick introduction. My name is Martha Grant. I am the Director of Product Strategy here at Action Network Action Builder. And for the past 5 years, I've been working on our cooperative development process for Action Builder that we're going to walk through today. So a little bit of background in case you're not familiar with our development process or our tool. The way Action Builder is built is through a cooperative development partnership. Specifically, that development partnership has been with the AFL-CIO. We have about 16 unions who have been participating in the development process of Action Builder from the beginning. And that participation actually looks like completely controlling our roadmap, what we build, how we build it, when we build it. This is, I think, one of the best ways to build technology. The idea is that we rely on our users, specifically organizers, to tell us what do we need in order to do our jobs to the best of our ability. What is the dream tool for organizers is where we've started. Every time I have a conversation with our development committee, we like to throw in some pie in the sky. If we could do absolutely anything, what should we do? And even if we can't get there yet, the idea is how do we work ourselves along a path where we'll get there eventually. We started the development process in September of 2017, and we presented an additional idea based on conversations with dozens of organizers around the country of generally what we thought folks wanted and needed. Once we got the thumbs up from several of these unions, at that point, about 24 unions, we started the build process. And in July of 2018, just a few months after we started the development process, we actually tested the tool in the field with an IBEW local in Washington State. Based on that feedback, we've been refining the tool all along the way as thousands of labor organizers across the country have been using the tool, using it to win campaigns, using it to win good contracts across the country. And we've also been taking on additional progressive organizations as our users as well. So one of the great things about our cooperative development process is we partner with an organization like the AFL-CIO that has the resources to build something like this. Then we build it and we can provide it to other organizations throughout the progressive movement and only within the progressive movement. So our terms of use make it really clear who can and can't use the tool. This is not a tool that is ever going to be co-opted for not good purposes. So the way we're going to start today is I'm going to walk you through the basics of Action Builder. And I'm also going to highlight along the way specifically what we've done this past year. So because of our cooperative development process, every couple of months, 25 folks, organizers, other union staffers, prioritize what they believe their organizers need most from the tool. Changes that need to be made, additional features that would make a real difference in organizers' lives. We are constantly working to improve the tool based specifically on that feedback. So I'm going to walk you through what those changes look like and what they have meant for our users. I know some of you who are joining us might not be super familiar with Action Builder, so I'm also going to sort of weave throughout a basic overview of what Action Builder is and how folks use it. So this is Action Builder. This is the page you're taken to when you first log in. It is the list of folks that you're organizing, whatever the last campaign is that you are organizing. So here in the drop-down menu, you can switch between different lists, different campaigns. This could be different locals. It could be different issues that you're organizing around. We've got 109 folks in this campaign. I've filtered to only people. One of the great things that we do is allow you to create, we call them different entities. It could be people, community organizations, job sites. You can track information about anything in the system. We're very flexible. You completely customize the tool to fit your needs. That customization includes right underneath a person's name, you can customize what information is displayed here. So here I have what committee these folks are a part of. You can also customize what these little dots mean. And this is actually a new feature of this year. We call it badges. You can spotlight different profiles based on having a particular response. In this case, this badge means that Janetta is a petition signer. Some of the basics that we've had some from the beginning: click to email, click to call, click to text, click to pull up driving locations. As Brian said in our sort of kickoff right at 9:30, we really believe in organizing, and organizing based on trustful relationships between people. That really the core part of an organizer's job is the one-on-one conversations and building out networks of other people having one-on-one conversations with one another. We believe that not only organizers should have access to Action Builder, but activists, worker leaders as well. One of the things that we've done from the beginning in our pricing structure is activist users are always free on the tool. So we really want to encourage activists logging in, logging the details of their one-on-one conversations with the other folks in their workplace. When I click expand here, another place of customization is you can customize what information is visible here in the top lines. So we have workplace issues. This is a workplace issue at this downtown hotel LaSalle. That's a connection to another entity, a job site. We have phone numbers. We have what organizer is assigned. So all of that information is just really clearly laid out here so that you can see it. You can also click new assessment, and this assessment scale is customizable. This is mocked up with a pretty standard labor assessment scale: leader, active supporter, on the fence, anti, and anti-leader. You can also switch somebody to have no assessment. You can do quick add an info, add a connection, or merge from this location as well. I'm going to go ahead and jump into Janetta's profile to show you the details on her page. So here we have a flag for follow-up. One of the things that we added is the ability to add notes on a flag for follow-up. So you can say, this person is flagged for follow-up and they specifically need help figuring out membership dues. One of the changes that is coming next year is adding the ability to assign this flag for follow-up to other users. So I can click complete and flag this follow-up. I can click flag for follow-up and add a new flag. There will be the option to add who should complete this flag for follow-up in the future. Looking down the list, another change that we made this year is addresses, emails, phone numbers, which you can mark confirmed, mark as bad, mark as subscribed. All of that we've had for a long time, but we added the ability to mark as do not contact. So now you can say a specific email address or phone number is do not contact on a person's record, and they should not be contacted at that location. Down here on addresses, a change that we made is adding automatic state, Senate, House district, and congressional district information on every profile. You can toggle this on or off. So if you are not doing a political campaign, this information is just not relevant to your work. By default, it isn't turned on in a campaign. You actually have to actively turn it on. But a lot of folks have really appreciated this, especially for leveraging stakeholders in their communities for their campaigns. Another change this year is this person level activity stream. So if I click here on activity, we can see all of the updates that exist on a person's profile. And a change that we just made was being able to make this the default for when you click on a person and go to their page, so that you can go straight to the activity stream when you click on anybody's name anywhere in the system. Excuse me. This person level activity stream we found is especially helpful right when you go to have a conversation with a person, to be able to review what was the last conversation that was had. So you can click here, search for a particular person, click on their profile. And then what we found is people would frequently go to the activity stream and just do a quick scroll to see what was the information that is most recently added before they went to have a conversation. That's why we've made this given people the option to make this the default page that they go to when they go to a person's profile. Another item that we added here is there's lots of search options. Like I only want to see assessments that have been added. I only want to see new connections that have been added to a person's profile. So you can quickly see those updates here. If we scroll down, we can now search on note text. So you can actually say, are there any notes about safety on Janetta's profile, and search. No notes about safety. So you can quickly add that information here. Hopping back to the information section, lots of customization options available here. This starts from 0 for a new organization, and then we work with organizations to build this out so it matches the data structure, all the information that they want to track or that they've been tracking in Google Sheets or another system. Connections is one of the really special aspects of Action Builder, where you can track a lot of information on how different people relate to each other. What are their relationships? What do those relationships consist of? So here we have a connection between people and job sites, all the different places Janetta works. And a change that we just recently added is the ability to quickly see at a glance what information lives here. So if I click View Info, it'll click Expand. So I can see that safety is an issue that Janetta has at the downtown hotel. If I click View Info here, we can, that was archived, so it doesn't display there. Going down here, we've got action participation, issue campaigns, leadership growth, organizer assigned, information that you want to be able to track about Janetta and her work in the field. Then down here in the bottom, we've got connections, connections between people, connections between community organizations. And I can click here, view info on the Church of St. Margaret. See that Janetta's a leader there. So you can do a lot of community mapping in the system as well. Another feature we added this year here in Notes is the ability to pin a note to the top. So folks have been using Action Builder for 4 years now, and a lot of folks write really fantastic notes. You can click Add Note. You can use voice to text on your phone to populate this. So we have really comprehensive information about why a person cares about joining the union, why a person wants to engage in your organization. And sometimes the best information is from those early conversations. This is all sorted by default, most recent to least recent. So adding the ability to pin notes has given the folks the ability to say, this comprehensive note from 3 years ago, that's the note that anybody who is a new organizer should read first to understand Janetta's relationship to our organization. So you can now pin that to the very top. One feature that's been with us since the beginning, to highlight for those of you who are new to Action Builder, this promote button. So when you click promote, you can quickly create an activist user account and give Janetta access to everybody in the campaign, or you can give access to only people who are, say, assigned to Martha as the organizer assigned. So any response in the system can be used to dynamically grant access. That means as people get that particular response, Janetta would see them in her list and be able to add information about them. So it's a great way to give distributed access to a lot of people, but segmented based on a particular data point. And that can be any data point that you add to the system as part of the information section here. So you could give Janetta access to only people who have had one-on-ones or only people who care about a particular issue campaign like climate. So it's a very nice dynamic way to grant access. Hopping back here to the wall chart, there are a lot of awesome options here. We have a quick apply button with the ability to quickly add information, add assessments, add connections, flag people for follow-up. We have a query builder over here on the right. A couple nice changes that we made here is you can now search for name. And then under location, you can now search for electoral district when you have that turned on. We also this year added something called complex filters. So these can be pulled up right here. I could pull up an example complex filter, click run query, and pull up those folks who fall under this complex filter result. And what that complex filter looks like, if I hop here, this is a way to do really in-depth slicing and dicing of your data set. So in this mock-up, I've got everybody who is a 1 or a 2. So these are leaders, known supporters, but then I also want to include in my list anybody who is a 3. So this is people who are on the fence or unassessed, who have attended a meeting or attended a Zoom session. And I could do this in a particular date range or do everybody. So I could say, I want everybody who has attended a meeting in the past week or attended a Zoom session in the past week, who is also a 3 or a 0. Click Save Changes, and then that is added to the system. This was something that a lot of folks wanted in order to be able to do the in-depth work that they need to do on a day-to-day basis. So we're really excited about that. Hopping to the activity stream, one change that we made is right here at the top. And this may seem like a small thing, but it's made a big difference for our organizers. So this page was created not this past year, but the year before. And it was used extensively for debriefs. So you can search for a particular user or search for a particular date range, share your Zoom screen, since so much of our meetings are now happening on Zoom, and be able to walk through with folks, hey, everybody, this is the work that we've done this week. Or you can pull it up for a particular user and say, let's talk through the conversations you've had in the past 2 weeks. And you can go through those conversations, the information that was loaded. Frequently, like say somebody added an assessment and you want to know, like, why did that assessment change? You can click into the person's profile and then add notes. Well, that was all good, but it would only used to show updates, like the count of how many updates had happened. But maybe somebody adds 20 data points for one person and then 5 data points for another, and you want to know how many people they actually talked to. So we've added this people count or entity count to the top. This will also show how many, for instance, job sites have had information logged based on any information that was logged by that person in that time frame. As you filter to assessments, for instance, it'll say that 40 entities, 40 people have had their assessments changed. And many people have had their assessments changed multiple times. So 74 updates here. We've also added searching note text right here. So this will search all of the notes that have been added across the tool. And you can type in text like, I know I've got a bunch that just say note. And we'll run this query and it'll show up all the note texts. This can be especially helpful if you've got a particular issue and you want to know anybody who's mentioned that issue. I'm going to hop here to tasks next. A lot of our changes over the past year have taken place here in tasks. So tasks is a place to assign specific work to specific people. Prior, you would click new task, and then you would simply enter the task name and then click create task. A big change that we made this year is adding enable canvassing. So you can now choose home visit, text bank, or phone bank. It'll then narrow to only people who have a mobile phone number for text, have any phone number for phone bank, or have a good address for home visit. And you'll be able to mark people as contacted successfully, bad number, etc. right from there. So I'm going to show you what this looks like from a user perspective from a phone bank. So I'm going to do a phone bank. I click here. I can click on Janetta. I could do this from my mobile device. Everything in Action Builder can be done from your phone. So I scrunch that page up. I can click to call Janetta right here. That on my Mac, that would pull up FaceTime. On my phone, it would just pull up my phone number. I can add notes here. I can add an assessment. I can add what actions Janetta is participating in, what Janetta's membership status. And then over here, the big change is this Canvas status. So I can say that I attempted Janetta, but did not successfully contact her, that I successfully contacted her. I could mark her phone number as bad or as do not contact, or I could skip this record. This is a pretty big change. That information about attempts and contacts lives on this particular phone number. So I can know what phone number have I tried 1,000 times and not gotten a response. So we're really excited about all of the possibilities for tracking information in that way. If I go here to manage tasks, I can show you a bunch of the other changes that we've made. So in manage tasks, this is a Canvas task. You can see progress towards completion. You can add the information that you want to gather as part of the house visit. You can choose, here's all the people that I want to talk to. So you can add all the people in the campaign, or you can do it based on a query, like ones, twos, threes, and unassessed. You can also use a complex query here. So you could actually do here, create query, complex queries, and choose that example complex filter that I showed you before. It automatically narrowed to 57 people because those are the people who have good addresses out of the folks who met the complex query results. A big change that we made, and we actually pushed through early so that we could support the Bessemer workers in Alabama, was if you click auto create turf, you can auto create turfs either based on size, which we've had for a while, or based on field response. So here I can say that I want to auto create turfs based on committee. And I can create those turfs, and it automatically creates a turf for each of the folks that have a particular committee assigned. And then I can go ahead and assign that turf to particular users. So a really quick way to very quickly assign out turfs. Some folks will have a field, for instance, that's neighborhood. And so you'll have responses for every neighborhood, or you'll have department, and then you'll have responses for every department. And this makes it really easy to quickly assign work to folks based on you're responsible for this department. I'm going to assign you to talk to these people, phone bank them, or house visit them. It's a really quick way to do this. We do have other ways to create turf that have been around for a while. So query and map have been around since the beginning. Query is that ability to say, like, I want to search on people who have this department or fit a particular complex query set. Map, you can cut turf on a map. We've got Minnesota here since I'm a Minnesotan. And you can go ahead and draw that turf and assign it out to a particular person. And then we also have the ability to add people one by one. So I can click here and add people and then assign those people to the list in addition to the folks who I added as part of the map view. So if you know somebody really has a relationship with somebody else, you can click add people there. You can also add people as part of a relationship here as part of connections. So I could search for everybody who has a connection with Janetta, for instance, and assign those folks as well. Going back here to campaign customization, a lot of changes happened here as well. So campaign customization is available to leads and admins, users who are doing more advanced work in the system and really setting up their organizers for success. One of the things that we did right from the beginning of the tool is want to make sure that organizers see in the wall chart in a person's profile only the information that is relevant for them and their campaign right now. And this campaign customization is where leads can make that dream a reality. Organizers shouldn't be faced with a ton of clutter, a ton of information that is not relevant to them, not relevant to the particular effort that they are working on. So here you can choose what entities are available. We have a ton of mock-up entities here in our demo campaign. You can track just about anything. We have a primary entity type. So by default, when somebody logs in, they'll only see their list of people. They won't see all the job sites and community organizations. We have all of the connection types, all of the different connections that people can have, that community organizations can have with each other, all this robust information that can be tracked. I've chosen to display electoral districts. You can also choose to display custom IDs. That's also new this year. Another thing that's new this year is allowing organizers to export. So something that we heard again and again is normally I just want my leads and admins to be able to export data because I'm worried. I want to keep tight control over my information. But on some campaigns, my organizers are fantastic and they need to be able to export lists to be able to send blast emails or send blast texts or do other information in bulk. So we added this ability for organizers to export early this year, and then we iterated on it. So in our most recent deploy just a couple of weeks ago, we added the ability for a lead or admin on the tool to add what information is available for those organizers to export. So allow specialized exports is allowing exporting all emails, all phone numbers, all addresses. So I can toggle that off. Then down here, I can say that the person shouldn't be able to export any responses. They shouldn't be able to export any home addresses, but they can export everything else. When I click save, it then says 9 properties allowed, no fields allowed here. We also have this toggle now for display activity stream as a default tab on an entity profile. When I'm good with my changes, I click save changes and they become live for everybody on the tool because this is a mobile first tool. We have our complex filters that were added this year that I already showed you. And then here in our info tab, we have the ability to choose different entities here and turn on or off what information is available. So I can click edit info and I can choose to say that these particular data points should be added. I can remove particular data points. So this is all a way of turning on or off what information is visible to organizers. We've had this from the beginning as well. From the get-go, we wanted to make a tool that organizers enjoyed using, and that meant making sure that organizers were not overwhelmed by a ton of information for campaigns that were not their campaign, that were not relevant to them. Hopping here to Toplines, this has not changed substantially this year. So if I click expand, this is where I can customize the topline information that's visible right when I click expand on a person's profile. And this highlighted top line is where I can choose the information that shows up by default right under a person's name. And it can be any data point in the system, phone number, email, any response that we've got tracked, and also connection information, like the connection between a person and a job site. Here, entity settings. This is a new one. So when I click on a person, I can say that organizer assigned and committee should be displayed when I click new entity. I can also go down here to spotlight and turn on signed petition as the information that should appear as a little widget to the bottom right of their assessment circle. And I can customize the icon name here. So I can choose what icon is visible here, and it's just like a general library. As far as I know, nobody has done the little alien, but or the unicorn, but I'm excited for somebody to do that. And then we've got users here. This hasn't changed substantially. And then integrations. So integrations has changed a little bit this year. We launched the Action Builder Action Network Sync in 2021, and folks have been using it to sync information between Action Builder and our sister toolset Action Network. The basic way it works is instead of by default syncing everybody from your Action Network list to Action Builder, it'll sync only the folks who have this magic tag, we call it, applied in Action Network. So you can apply this Action Network magic tag by default. If you go and like create a form, say like a petition, you could have everybody who fills out that petition assigned this magic tag, and then they will flow into this Action Builder campaign. Going down here to sync tags and responses. You've also had this for over a year, the ability to sync a particular response in Action Builder to a particular tag in Action Network. What we did add this year is the ability to sync custom fields and notes. So you can now say anybody who says that they have a particular role in Action Network, that information will be added in the context of a note on the role response here in Action Builder. So folks can really elaborate on that. It can also be used in open-ended text in a form. So you could say, why is safety a really important issue for you in your workplace? The paragraph of text that a person writes can then show up automatically in Action Builder as part of the sync. Assessments is also new. So assessments are synced one way from Action Builder to an assessment tag in Action Network, and is kept up to date to be the most recent assessment only. So if somebody moves from a 2 to a 1 in Action Network, when the sync runs about every 2 hours, that response will change. They will no longer have the 2 assessment. They'll only have the 1 assessment in Action Network, which means that you can email or blast text only people who have particular assessments in Action Network. That's about it in terms of the overview that I wanted to give you today. I'm excited to answer any questions that folks have, and I see that we already have one in the Q&A. So an important question, one that we get a lot, is there any way to integrate with Van? So The short answer is we do have a very robust API. So an API is a way to automatically sync information between different tool sets, but there is no integration between Action Builder and Van at this time. So what folks would need to do is write a script to automatically move information from their system to Action Builder. Some folks have been using that in really robust ways. When it comes to Action Builder and Van, though, what we have been seeing most is folks creating a cadence of moving information. So a lot of folks use Van for voter contact. Action Builder is built really for the management of volunteers, for leadership development, for identifying and moving leaders into positions where they are responsible for more within your organization. And sometimes those leaders will be doing voter contact in Van, which is fantastic. So what some folks will do is they will move their leaders in Action Builder to Van in order to like sort of tag them as leaders. So that's just like an upload process, exporting from Action Builder, uploading to Van. Another thing that we'll see is that when folks are doing voter contact, they might identify folks who want to be more engaged, which is fantastic. So on a regular basis, moving people with that particular activist code or survey response in Van, exporting them out of Van and uploading them to Action Builder has worked pretty well. Generally, the lines between what people do in Van versus what they do in Action Builder are pretty clear. Action Builder is where you're really focused on building up those leaders, having one-on-one conversations. Van is where folks generally do voter contact. Other questions folks have? Feel free to drop them in the Q&A. Great question in the chat. Do you have any advice, or the Q&A, excuse me, and definitely the Q&A is the place to go. So do you have any advice for training OCs to use Action Builder? So there are some fantastic examples, and we're actually going to be talking a little bit about this afternoon with Lauren Byers of UFF. So please do stick around for that session. There are a bunch of different tactics that we found really works. So an organizing committee will frequently be using Action Builder to talk to folks in their particular department, in their workplace, on their shift. So to start, you would go ahead and give folks an activist account so that they have access to the specific people that they're responsible for talking to. When you go ahead and do that training, I really do think Zoom trainings are fantastic. In-person trainings are also good, but there are two components to the training. So the first component is just walking through a couple of times exactly what you want people to be able to track in the system and how. So if you're having folks using tasks, like you're starting them off just doing a phone bank, you'd walk through the phone bank portion. In this walkthrough, you walk through the exact process that they would use to add information 2 or 3 times. So if they're doing a phone bank, you would walk them through how you click on a person, what the expectations are in terms of the information they would log, how they use Canvas status, what successfully contact means, what attempted means for your organization, and show them that information. I will frequently recommend that folks create a campaign that is really just a training campaign. So then you can actually give them access and they can run through exactly what your expectations are for them to do, but inputting fake data on fake records. If you're giving them access to the wall chart to add information about all of their coworkers, showing them the search functionality right here up at the top, and how they can search for the person in their work site that they're going to have a conversation with, what the different components of their profile is, and then how to go ahead and add the information that you're expecting them to add about those records. So a tasks training will frequently be 5 to 10 minutes. It really doesn't take long to train people up on tasks. If you're expecting them to do a lot more, really add ongoing conversations from the wall chart, that training is more like an hour. Mostly because I also recommend folks include, after the run through of everything that they're doing, a portion where they can add fake information to profiles and really solidify their understanding of like, okay, this is exactly the process that I will use. This is how I do it on my phone. This is how I do it on my laptop. So giving people the space to do that. The other thing that I would say is critical to successfully onboarding an OC to the tool is for those first 2 weeks, having ongoing active conversations with each member of the OC using the activity stream to ask them, how is this going? I see that you didn't add any information yesterday. Let's walk through the process for adding your conversations. And really getting into the habit of proactively reaching out and asking folks what challenges they're having with the tool. We believe in this tool being there for every OC member, not just OC members who love to try the next piece of technology. Like, this is a tool that from the get-go we have built to be there for folks who say, I hate technology. The very first ride along I did was using tasks. Was tracking information for a house visit in Central Washington, which I mentioned at the start. And the person I did that right along with, fantastic union steward, absolutely fantastic organizer. Did not like using his mobile phone. We were using the mobile phone to go out and do the house visits. His wife managed his email accounts. Like, he hated technology, and he and folks like him who do not like technology and love organizing, that's who we built Action Builder for. We want to make this tool as easy to use as possible, as easy to onboard folks to, but that also means proactively working through the challenges that folks have and talking them through with how to do conquer those challenges and use the tool successfully in an ongoing way, especially for those first 2 weeks after adoption. Also got another good question in the Q&A. From an organizational perspective, what would you say is the amount of training or development to get an organizer and an organization onboarded into robust usage? That is fantastic. So again, I really do think that those first few weeks after you introduce any new piece of technology are critical. And it really is about proactively reaching out and finding out what the challenges are for each individual, each department, and getting a sense of what they find challenging. What are they trying to add to the system, but they can't? One of the critical things about the amount of customization that we give you in Action Builder is frequently an issue with adoption is, I need to be able to track this. I was able to track this in a spreadsheet. Why can't I track it here? And the trick is that you can track it here. It just takes a little bit of setup to make sure that they can do it. And we have made it easy in this campaign customization tab for any lead or any admin to go here. And I'll just go to people as an example, edit info, and say under action participation, you can add a quick response here. And then that is available to everybody in the campaign. From a strictly hours perspective, when you're onboarding an OC, it's 5 to 15 minutes if they're predominantly using tasks. I would say like a full hour is a great amount of time to really get folks feeling very comfortable with all of the features they might use as an organizing committee member. Our general onboarding process for an organization is to have a conversation up front about data structure. We love to then do a deeper dive with organizations who are interested in additional support from us, and really digging into how is your information distributed, where are you storing it now, and help with the process of getting that information into Action Builder. So folks are starting with as much data that they've been tracking elsewhere as possible. Doing an in-depth training with the key stakeholders within the organization, organizing leads, organizers is also a good first step. And then really encouraging whoever is the point person for Action Builder within an organization to use that activity stream robustly in those first few weeks to have ongoing conversations with folks about what the areas are that they're having challenges in terms of adoption. And again, usually it's those little things of, I need to track this information. Where do I track it? And then finally, we love to come in and then a couple of weeks into adoption, make sure that we are there as a resource to help address any questions that folks have about how the tool can be further customized to really meet all of their needs. We also have a question in the chat about whether or not somebody from our organization can attend a conference in April. We love to attend labor conferences. We love to be there for your organizations. We love to do breakout rooms. We love to do in-depth trainings. So definitely don't hesitate to reach out. I'm going to put in the chat to everyone my email address. We would love to be there for you as you continue to expand adoption within your organization or are interested in coming on board. Other questions from folks? Apologies for the cough. I've had this for 4 weeks now. It's going away. It's not away yet. Well, I just want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I couldn't be more excited for our next Zoom session with Lauren Byers, Service Unit Director at UFF. Thanks to Jeff for just dropping that link into the chat. Please do join us. We look forward to seeing you there. And especially for those of you who had questions about OCs, how to get activists on the tool, how to really get an organization to using it full on. That's going to be a fantastic session for everybody. And shout out to DC folks. We would love to see you at our happy hour tonight at Busboys and Poets starting at 5:30. It is going to be a fantastic conversation, a live podcast showing, and we are excited to see you there. Thanks all.